Here we have the inside of the Auto-Sleeper Nuevo. If we firstly come to the main control panel, just here, you'll see this button just here, which is the main 12 volt on and off. Beneath that we then have water pump on and water pump off. Obviously we need the water pump on to be able to get water out of the taps. Next we have how much water is in the fresh tank, how much water is in the waste tank, and then we have condition of the leisure battery, condition of the vehicle battery, how many amps we're using. Then we also have the mains current and what the solar panel is doing. We then have the main isolator for all of the onboard lights. They can then all be individually turned on and off on their own switches. If they are these touch lights up here, once they've gone off, they will not come on again until they are touched. We then have the awning light and entrance light. Battery selection, so we can switch between the vehicle battery and the leisure battery. Whichever battery is highlighted on here is the battery you are charging when you're hooked up to main supply. Along the top we have the external temperature. We will have this little lightning strike up here if we have main supply connected. We then have the humidity and the internal temperature. If we now press the cog, it will then go into the settings menu. So at the moment, when it comes to charging, we are in smart mode. So basically what will happen is they will cycle. So when you're hooked up to the main supply, it will charge the leisure battery for a period of time and then switch over to the vehicle, and vice versa. The solar will then do the same. We have tank fill just here. So this just basically makes the smart fill on the side for the whale turn basically the solenoid on to allow water into the van. So you just need to make sure that this is on. And we then have tank heaters, waste and fresh. So if you are using the van in extremely cold climate and there is a danger of freezing, you can just stop any frost damage to the tanks happening. If we then arrow across, when the power is turned on at the moment, the main lights will come on, but the awning light won't. You can change any of those. Key beeps are on, water levels, alarms are on. We can set the brightness of the backlight just here, and how long before the screen times out when we're not using it. We then just set the time, date, etc. on this screen, and then we basically just go round and round in a big giant circle. Beside this, we then have the Truma control panel for the heating and hot water. At the moment it's just displaying the time and also letting us know we have main supply connected. If I now press this button just here, it will then illuminate. What I'm just going to quickly do is just alter the brightness of the screen so we can see it on the camera. Okay, so as I rotate this button, you'll see the icons then begin to flash. If we start with the first icon just here, this one is for your heating, and if I now click on it, heating is off, and all we now do is just rotate the button and pick whatever temperature we would like it to be inside the motorhome, and it will go right the way up to a very toasty 30 degrees. So let's say we want it to be 30 degrees in here, click on it, and that's now stored in, and you'll see a little flame has appeared above. That little flame there just represents the heating system, and it's just letting you know that you have set a parameter. When the heating is in operation, that flame will then flash, and it will continue to flash until the temperature you've asked it has been achieved. If we now move along to the next icon, this one here is for your hot water, and again, if I now click on it, hot water is off, and all we now do is just rotate, and we can heat hot water in eco mode, which will give us a temperature of about 40 degrees. We can heat it in hot, which will give us a temperature of about 60 degrees, and we can also perform a boost on the boiler. The boost was mainly designed for if there's going to be more than one of you having a shower in quick succession of each other, or if you just want a longer shower. If you do perform the boost and the heating's running, the heating will turn off as it needs to take that power to perform the boost. And again, it will continue to flash until the temperature you have asked it has been achieved. If we then move across to the next icon, this one here is power source. So we're currently using main supply using 2 kilowatts. If I rotate, I can lower the power consumption to 1 kilowatt if we're on a low amp site. We can run in dual fuel, so we can run on a mixture of the gas supply and mains at 2, or a mixture of the gas supply and mains at 1. Dual fuel is extremely handy, especially in the winter months if you want to get up to temperature nice and quickly. It will only use the gas as it is required. And if you don't have any main supply, you can solely run on the gas. After that, we then have the circulation fan, and we can either run it in eco, high or boost. And if I now turn off hot water and heating, what we can also do with that fan is use it to vent the motorhome on a warm day. And if I now go to it, we can turn it on, and it has a fan speed of 1 to 10, and it will then just circulate the air around the motorhome. If we now drop to the lower icons, this first one here is for a basic timer. If I now click on that, it will ask you when you would like the timer to begin, and then finish. And then once we've done that, we just literally pick what we would like on within that time period. And then lastly, timer on or off. If I activate the timer icon will come up there, and then within that time period, those settings would then apply. If I now return to it, we can turn the timer back off again, and when we go back, we can alter it. Next one is clock set. So just rotate to pick the correct time. And then your last icon is your settings menu. Within that, we have offset, which is for the onboard thermostat just here. If you don't think it's quite correct, you can just tweak it by a few degrees. We then have temperature, just if you prefer it displayed in Celsius or Fahrenheit. Brightness of the screen, 12 or 24 hour clock. Language. Index, which is more for the technicians, it just literally lets them know what software it's running. And then lastly, full factory reset. From time to time, you will get error codes appear on this control panel. They will appear as a warning triangle where my finger is, just about here. If you then click on it, it will then display a series of letters and numbers, and if you look in the manual or you Google it, it will tell you what the problem is. 9 times out of 10, if it's something simple like you've lost main supply, if you rectify the problem, the error code will disappear. If that doesn't just happen, it's always then best just to go back to the warning triangle and double click on it, and then it will sometimes say no error and disappear. If that doesn't work, if you still have stuff running along the top here, just turn them all off, because it can reassess a lot faster when it's not trying to do lots of things at once. If you still have an error code once you've done that, it's the good old-fashioned turn it off and turn it on again. And the way we turn the control panel completely off is just by holding this button in until it says off. If when you turn it back on again you still have an error code, I always then just say do a factory reset on it. Sometimes these control panels can just glitch and they just need to be reset. Next we have the location of the boiler. So basically the boiler itself is tucked behind this vent here, but the drain valve for it, to drain it down for winterization, is tucked down underneath the travel seats just here, and you can see it just tucked down here, and it is just this blue diamond. These particular drain valves are automatic, so if the temperature inside this van drops below about 3-4 degrees, this valve will automatically open and drop all the water out of the boiler to frost protect itself. If we are manually draining it, we just need to make sure that the water pump is turned off, and then we basically just need to come to the blue diamond just here and twist it. When we twist it, what will happen is at the base of the unit a blue button will pop out and it will commence draining down. All we then do is we twist it back to the position it is now and we push the blue button back in again. If it auto drains, all that happen is a blue button will pop out, and all you need to do to reset it is push it back in. If you're pushing it back in and it's popping straight back out again, it's just too cold in the van and you will need to turn the heating on to generate some heat to allow it to reset. Another reason why the blue button will not stay in is if you've manually drained it and you haven't returned the blue diamond into the correct position. Also in here we have the leisure battery just here. We then have the consumer unit just here. So we have the mains trip switches. So we've got the 3 individual MCBs just here. And then we have the main RCD and test button. These are all numbered up and will correspond in the Auto-Sleeper handbook. And then we have the 12-volt fuses just here. And again, they are all numbered up as well. We also have isolator buttons for components that use main supply. So we have this amber one here, which is for the heating and hot water system. If I turn this off and I'm running the Truma system on main supply, we will get a warning triangle to let us know we've lost mains. We then have the green one here, which will turn the battery charger on and off. Obviously we want to be charging the batteries up when we're hooked up to the main supply, so again we want to make sure that this is on. We have this one here which will illuminate if we have reverse polarity connected to the van. These modern Sargent units will also reverse it and make it safe in the van, so we again don't need to do anything. Lastly, we have the full system shutdown button, so if we're not using the van for long periods of time, what we can do is press this one and it will shut the whole of the back end down, thus reducing any residual draw on the leisure battery. We also have tucked just at the back here another bank of fuses, and again they are all labelled up. We then have the hob just here. So we've got the one electric hot plate which operates on this one here. Do be careful, there's no light that illuminates to let you know it's on. Everything else is gas, and it's push in, twist and press the igniter. We have the grill beneath. So just this one here, push in, twist, and then press the igniter. And then the oven. The extractor sits above, light switch just here, fan on and off just here. tucked down here, we have sitting at the back a safe. Microwave here. The isolator switch for the microwave is just beside the glasses. It is advisable to make sure that the contents is removed for travel. Behaves like most microwaves. We have quick start just here and stop. We can select the timer just by rotating. We have power setting, weight, defrost, etc. all on there. The Thetford fridge turns on the square button just here. This is an automatic model, so as long as we are on A for auto, it will find the best power source it can for us. So because we're hooked up to main supply at the moment, it's put us onto mains. If I now went outside and unplugged us from the mains, it would then automatically attempt to fire itself up onto gas, and as soon as we start the engine, it will then automatically go over to 12 volt maintain. We can take it out of auto if we want to by pressing this button here, so I can manually put it onto mains and manually put it onto 12 volt maintain. We're going to get an error code at the moment as the engine is not running, and I can manually select gas, but auto is the easiest one to have it on. Temperature control just here, and then just open here, and then back off again just on the black square. Pull out worktop just sits above the fridge. If we then go into the washroom just here, we have a shower and the basin. We then have the swing wall shower, so this then comes out, and then we then unclip the shower screen just here and then fold this across to give us a nice size shower cubicle. Do make sure that it is clipped back as it is at the moment for travel. We then have the Thetford toilet, so open to the cassette just on the grey lever here, and then push the flush just here. If this is left open and you try to remove the cassette from the outside, it will not come out, so if you do have resistance, just make sure that the flap has been closed. The level indicator for the cassette is just here, and will rotate round to red to let you know when it needs emptying. In the wardrobe here we have the majority of the gas isolation taps. They are all in the on position and can stay like that. I always say if you do smell gas in the van, go to the main gas shut off point on the tank outside. We then have the table and pole in here, and we also have the digital amplifier for the television aerial. Control the boost just here, and then we can turn on and off just here. We then have the overcab bed, and this just pulls down. We have the ladder just here, and we also have the netting just here that can be clipped up.